I'm pleased as punch because there was a time 5 years after we opened, we hadn't changed any of the exhibits except the ones up here in Pet Projects, and we didn't have any money to change the exhibits, and they were breaking. And now we're in the more enviable position of being able to choose what we're going to put in based on what we hope the public wants to learn, rather than just because it's broken, we'll fix it and we'll keep it out there. In general, I do public programming at least once a month. Several months a year, we do it for about a week. Functionally, what works best is usually something around me cutting open something and trying to figure out either what killed it or provide researchers with specimens, tissue samples of things that they're doing research on. So typically when I do like a shark dissection, not only do we have a really good attraction for the visitors to come and see, but I'll have been in contact with researchers who are studying anything from migratory patterns of the sharks to what trophic level they're eating at, to what kind of toxins they're accumulating. And that way I can provide tissue samples or vertebrae to the researchers, and while I'm doing the necropsy I can talk to the public about how this animal is being used for research.
To extend the handheld program that we're also developing for the Free Choice Learning Lab, we have an opportunity to use QR codes on tanks such as this to accommodate language provisioning for Spanish speakers, French speakers, any foreign language. The visitor scans the code and gets the interpretation on the handheld, which extends our audience reach at the visitor center immensely. Okay, we are also using QR codes on our permanent exhibits. A lot of exhibits in the center are meant to be up for 5 to 10 years, but as we all know, a lot of information changes in that period of time. Instead of redoing all this signage, we give the visitor an opportunity to scan the code, go to a website, and get the most up-to-date research information.
But I really think people come in for the animals, and you know, if you think about it, you look out over the ocean, and I know a lot of local people here, you know, you look out over the ocean, they don't have a clue what's below the water. You know, we have lakes around here and streams. What's in the water, you know, and so they come here and they get an up-close look at it. You know, you get to touch the animals in the touch pool. You get to read things about the science and about the biology of the animals. I think it makes it more important for you. That's what a science center does. It tells you and it shows you that big deal. People are satisfied when they leave this place because it's a new world that they've discovered. And I think it's a big thing. It's a big reason to have a science center, you know, for the learning aspect. And it opens up that world of science to them. You know, this is an animal that lives in the water. How do they do it? You know, and that's what we teach. And it's important.
So we are currently ending a 3-year grant called Oregon Coast Aquatic and Marine Science Partnership, where we have been working with Lincoln County School District teachers to get marine science into the classroom. And since that program is ending, we are now looking to expand that in a number of different ways. We are looking at engaging other school districts in the program as well by writing additional math and science partnership grants, both at the state and the federal National Science Foundation level. In addition, we are hoping to continue our work with the 32 Lincoln County school district teachers that we've been working with by writing additional grants for engineering, to incorporate marine engineering into their classrooms. So not just focusing on science, marine science in the broadest sense, but actually now channeling all of that energy and efforts into marine engineering hands-on projects for the students.
Well, a couple of things are happening with summer day camps and with homeschool days. We have a lot of parents that like to come and participate. So we have created a family camp this summer and family homeschool day for in the fall, so that parents will actually participate in all the events with their children. So it gets them out to the coast. They usually spend, you know, the week or the weekend on vacation out here, and they get to participate in the education with their children. And Career Day, we've had such a huge turnout this year that we actually had to add a second day, and we're completely full with school groups. So we're hoping to expand that program into 2 or 3 or even 4 days a year if we have to, because of the great turnout from schools.
We also have a lot of new opportunities for professional development coming up over the next 2 years. Internships for graduate students and undergraduate students, working in the visitor center, working in the field, visiting scholars coming in to visit us, workshops for scientists on being better communicators, and workshops for educators, basically to keep their science up to date, including their science of free choice learning.
So I'm working with the Oregon Coast Education Program, otherwise known as OSEP, which is funded through a BWET grant of NOAA. And I came in the second year of the project, and we are creating online modules for helping teachers throughout the state of Oregon bring ocean studies into their classroom. And we're also talking about best practices for getting out in the field with students, and we call them the MeWEs, the Meaningful Watershed Education Experiences. And we're doing we've done a series of workshops with teachers in Newport, and most recently in Bend and Portland and Charleston, to get teachers learning about these modules and best practices, and getting teachers outside exploring these environments and ways to use these activities in their classrooms. And it's a collaboration between not only Sea Grant, but Oregon Coast Aquarium and South Slough National Estuary Research Reserve, and the High Desert Museum in Bend, and Tryon Creek State Park in Portland, and OIMB. So it's a big project that everybody's working on together for these common goals.
In the next couple of years, we will be engaging coastal decision makers using handheld applications. Everyone is carrying phones with them now, and it's a great way to start communicating directly with them. We will be producing applications that know where a visitor is. They can explore their environment, from finding out what kind of life is actually beneath their feet, to what do these vessels do and what kind of activities that take place on them. All of this is something that can be done autonomously. The visitor can drive the experience and can be supported by the visitor center. We'll be looking at working waterfronts here in just a minute. The working waterfronts have been a fascination for tourists visiting Newport, Astoria, and Coos Bay. There's a lot going on here. It's very fascinating and engaging to people. A project we're looking at in the next 2 years is an application that will allow tourists to have a guided tour with a handheld app describing what all this is. We'll also pilot a paper product this summer, which is just a map of the same tour. And this will give us a lot of evaluation data on how valuable the tour will be, and we'll start production on those applications soon.
So last year, one of our projects in 2011 that we finished up was actually getting a set of hard signs down on Newport's historic bayfront, really interpreting to the public the different types of vessels and what they catch, and also helping them try to connect to the markets and looking at, on this one, the different types of seafood and when it's available. We also have a paper copy that we do through Oregon Sea Grant Communications every year called What's Fresh and When, that actually lists out the various seasons of the different commercial fisheries so that people will know when certain products are in season and available fresh. So one of the things we're trying to do this next year in 2012 is trying to take that paper version and this version here on this sign and move it to a digital format, so that instead of just looking at when the seasons are fresh, people will actually know where to actually buy that product. And so it'll be a digital format where people will know what vessels are selling directly off their vessels, which we call direct marketers, and also which seafood markets locally are selling those products, so that our tourism community can tap into our coastal food system.
Another project we'll be undertaking in the next couple of years is adapting the book Oregon Coastal Access Guide to a handheld app, allowing tourists to access coastal information as they tour up and down the coast.
Over the next 2 years, we're going to be working a lot on supporting coastal decision makers and learners, and that means understanding how they learn. In order to understand how people learn today, we have to have a whole new set of tools for doing that, and that's what we're developing in the Visitor Center right now. This area where we're standing right here is eventually going to house new wave tanks
What's exciting about the wave tanks is that built into them are observation systems that allow us to understand exactly what people are doing, how they're learning from it, and how we can support or change that learning. New ways of looking at how people learn also means bringing on new partners. OSU Engineering has been a huge partner so far with the wave tanks and exhibits, but also behind the scenes helping us develop the observation tools and platforms we're going to be using over the next 5 years. For the last 20 years, we've been doing research across the field on how people learn by following them around. It's pretty labor intensive, time intensive, person hour intensive. One of the changes we're making now that will really support what we're doing over the next 5 years is automating as much of that as possible. We're using observation systems put on people, we're using observation systems put on handhelds, we're using observation systems built into exhibits and the infrastructure of the visitor center to really help us understand at a global scale how people move through, learn, work with each other, but also at the individual scale how they're learning, how they're changing moment to moment. These tools will help us see that in a way no one has been able to do before.
We are going to no problem. No problem. That's why it's digital. We can just keep doing it over and over again.
How many more buckets do you think we're going to need?
This is always my problem. Nobody knows exactly what I do. Even my mother doesn't know what I do actually anymore.
I'm not in this, am I? We also have touch tanks in the back. You can touch everything. Just put your finger in the poop hole for the anemones. Thank you.
And what is an appropriate number?
Ooh, that is like tap dancing. Yeah, I don't know if I want to answer that.